For this episode, we'll be taking a peek outside of the standard TV show and will instead look at other outlets of Steven Universe to see if there's anything for us to glean from there. We've already done this in regards to the game The Attack the Light, and for the blog Keep Beach City Weird. Now, I'll be specifically talking about the comics and the Twitter blogs of the show's creative team. Let's start with the more direct outlet for us to make theories about, Twitter. Now, this might seem odd that we're looking at personal Twitter accounts to get information about Steven Universe, the TV show, especially since the main team can't actually talk about upcoming content and spoilers. Heck, people ask for spoilery content all the time, and they're either outright ignored or flat out shot down with the no spoilers clause. But these are still people we're talking about here. Human beings aren't exactly perfect. One Homo sapien in particular is Matt Burnett. He's a writer of Steven Universe, having worked on episodes like Lion 3 and Rose's Scabbard. His personality, however, is a bit more wild compared to the other creators, at least when it comes to cyberspace. He even has gone as far as to open the table for any and all questions about the show. While most of it is tongue-in-cheek, there was one series of questions where he let the cat out of the bag. The question is as follows. In your opinion, what MTG color combos would Steven and the other gems use? To which Matt responded, just my opinion, but Steven is GW, Pearl is WU, Garnet is UR, and Amethyst is RG. This line of questioning repeated for several more characters, of which he gave similar responses. He was called out for giving spoilers, at which point he claims, I think it's kind of funny that 99.99% of fans will have no idea how to interpret this information. He may know everything about the show, but on this, he's dead wrong. It's time that this 99% of the fandom got a playtest in Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering, or MTG, or just Magic for short, was made by Richard Garfield in 1993, and it was published by Wizards of the Coast, making it the first trading card game. Matt himself is a big player of the game to the extent that he received cards from Wizards itself so that Lapis would be taken care of. So, what do these strange letter combinations mean? Well, they're references to the game's color system. Originally, these colors were meant to represent a unique playstyle which a player would like to pursue in the game, in addition to having a place in the game's lore. Now, the game has been out for a long time, so there are many exceptions to what I'm about to say, but here is the basic idea of how each color is meant to be played. First, there is white. Its most basic lore is that it represents community, law, and peace, so long as peace is not at the cost of the other two. In the game, white is notable for having the most health bonuses and damage prevention. It has the most enchantments, the second most token creatures, and it's also well known for killing off players' cards in very dramatic ways. The health bonuses are in regards to simply gaining more life, either to the player directly or to the monsters on the field. Damage prevention comes through in that many white cards simply negate the other colors entirely, forbidding them from even being used. Enchantments. Think of these like being upgrades. For white, these upgrades typically benefit from each other and stack on their effects. They work together. The idea of strength in numbers is also repeated in that white has the second most tokens in the game. Tokens are like throwaway creatures that are typically only scary in large numbers. The killing I mentioned is dramatic in that white typically specializes in exiling an opponent's monsters from the game entirely. They don't send them to the grave, or they can simply just wipe the entire board and send everything to the grave. Even the enchantments, those mindless upgrades, even those things are specialized at killing other enchantments, which is pretty crazy. Then there's black. Thematically, it is summed up with might is right. Overall, black is synonymous with amorality and power by any means. Mechanically, black cards focus on sacrifice, parasitism, and dirty tactics. Many black cards require the player to sacrifice other monsters in order to use them properly, or the cards in their own hand, or their own life points. Parasitism is a common theme with lots of vampires, and dealing damage gives you more health. Regeneration and the refusal to stay dead is also a common theme here. Finally, there's the dirty tactics. Black has many cards which can ignore the standard rules of the game, such as bypassing another player's ability to block damage, or destroying enemy monsters without question just because you put something down, or being generally annoying and causing everything else in the game to get weaker when it should actually be strong. With green, it's all about being one with nature. It places everything in a global community and emphasizes the survival of the fittest. Green shares some mechanics with white, specifically in using lots of tokens and hating on other players' enchantments. Its color is unique for its massive generation of mana and drawing lots of cards very quickly, having the biggest and strongest monsters and forcing the rules on its opponents. Mana is the main resource of the game, and it's what allows you to essentially do anything at all. Green cards usually cost a bunch of mana, but that leads into their sheer strength and emphasis on a lot of cards. The sheer strength of green is emphasized by its monsters having trample, which allows you to deal damage to an opponent even if they blocked your attack, you're just that powerful. Or monsters having venom and death touch, which kill everything they get into combat with, regardless of what happens. Green also forces the rules by having creatures that negate things like ignoring blocks or preventing counterspells. Red is about freedom, passion, and emotion in life. In the game, red players are known for dishing out lots of damage very quickly and stopping mana generation, and sometimes being pretty random. Red also shares the theme of sacrifice with black. Red monsters typically have a lot of bonuses to their combat abilities, and that's assuming you aren't already dead from the third lightning bolt you just got hit with. Red is notorious also for its ability to destroy land cards, which are the main source of mana in the game, causing other players to be set back by several turns. There's also a theme of randomness, with some cards requiring coin flips, throwing out other cards randomly, and reshuffling the deck. Often, a lot of this power comes at a cost, which is where the theme of sacrifice begins to play in again. And now, in my opinion, the most notorious color of all, blue. Blue is prioritized with knowledge and a belief that all things are a blank slate. They are what we make of them, and all things are thus possible. Blue control is a powerful saying, and it essentially describes a blue player's goal in the game: control. They turn the game into their own in many ways. Blue is king of counterspells, being able to completely negate any action that another player might try to take, as well as having plenty of cards which can steal monsters from other players, making them their own, or being able to copy another card a player used. They can also cause players to lose a substantial portion of their deck, or change the states of creatures on the field. Blue also takes themes from illusions in which they can summon powerful monsters, but with some caveats, as well as overpowering time manipulation, in which blue players can alter the turn order. Finally, blue is known for being adept with technology, holding the most artifact cards of any other color. There are also uncolored cards, which are usually just objects or represent raw mana and energy, but it also represents the Eldrazi race, which merely seeks to feast on reality, mindlessly bringing about destruction wherever they go. Once again, there are many exceptions to what I just said, as many different cards now allow for an endless amount of playstyles regardless of whatever color you play. It also pays to keep in mind that in MTG, there is no rule that says you can't mix colors. In fact, I'd even say it's encouraged with the existence of cards that flat out nullify entire colors from play. From this point, I'd like to get into the lore of Magic the Gathering. In Magic lore, there are several factions which represent the colors, including mixtures of the colors, which may be closer to what Matt was trying to get at with his original posts. So let's see how these factions and playstyles may relate to what Matt said about the characters in the show. Steven is green-white, meaning he is one with nature, but that his nature is one of peace and order above any law. Mechanically, he is all about supporting others to keep them healthy and make them stronger. In Magic lore, he is matched with Dromoka and Selesnya. The Dromoka is an elder dragon whose children were protected from all manner of weaponry. When she was confronted by local hunters, she slew them all because she saw their practice of necromancy as an affront against nature. The surviving hunters changed their ways and made an agreement with the Dromoka. Together, the humans and dragons have been a peaceful and trusting community ever since. Selesnya is a faction dedicated to establishing and maintaining peace, life, and community. Its leader, Matt Selesnya, is a fusion of many other people, a lot like Steven himself, although Matt's cell is also similar to Rose in that she's not quite alive anymore. Instead, 3 other dryads now speak in her stead, similar to the roles Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst now take. This is interesting because we see that Dromoka had to make a very violent decision, even though it resulted in peace for the people. The Selesnya is also referred to as a brainwashing cult, which focuses too much on blind devotion to the leader. We already know that Steven and Rose have been criticized for their unending faith in others and causing others to hold the same belief. Likewise, with Onion's feeding the snake scene, the time may be coming when Steven is put in a position to end someone's life or cause massive harm at the promise of bringing a better tomorrow. Pearl is white-blue, which would represent an order that is absolute and based on knowledge. Mechanically, this is likely to combine white and blue's destructive powers, as well as having a disproportionate number of enchantments and technology compared to everyone else. The lore that represents this combination is the Azorius Senate and the Ojutai. The Azorius Senate is a legal society which is devoted to blind justice, peace, and to hold the status quo. They are against taking any action unless it adheres to the law, and the action is carefully considered beforehand. The Ojutai are graceful but cunning dragons. They have rewritten their clan's history to hide an ancient and violent coup they committed which brings them the power that they have now, and they do anything they can to prevent the truth from getting out. The Azorius Senate is obviously criticized for not taking action fast enough or when it is needed, even outright blocking other people's attempts at doing genuinely and obviously good things. The Ojutai, again, they are very smart, but they have betrayed others to get to where they are now, and they aren't very truthful when it comes to the past. Pearl's history is discussed constantly in the show, but bringing this to mind and realizing that the show is technically from Steven's perspective and is not inherently true, we may have reason to question anything that Pearl actually says. Amethyst is red-green. For her, freedom and emotions are the natural way, and she will passionately defend her home. Mechanically, Amethyst is about hitting fast and hitting hard, only getting better at it over time. The lore factions for her are the Gruul clans and the Artarka. The Gruul were unfortunately made irrelevant when civilization took their homes away, and the Azorius Senate removed them from the law, and they were no longer recognized as, well, people. Since then, the Gruul have been decentralized and take any opportunity to cause chaos and destruction against those that they blame to have taken away everything they had. The Artarka dragons are exceptionally wild and are driven solely by their hunger. Over time, they were tamed by humans, to whom they lend great power. However, they are only loyal for as long as the humans keep them fed and happy. The Gruul's wild destruction comes from the loss of their home, which could be a hint that ever leaving Beach City or the Earth may be difficult for Amethyst to cope with, especially since we've seen how she behaved with Greg after he moved on from their relationship. The Artarka connection could be that Amethyst may consider leaving the Crystal Gems if things don't go her way for too long. Garnet is blue-red. Garnet's future is a blank slate because for the first time she is free to choose her own destiny, and she does so by following her emotions and passions, albeit while keeping a level head. Mechanically, Garnet goes to end conflict as quickly as possible, preventing the opponent from fighting back and rushing them down with everything she has. In the lore, this is represented by the Azet League. The Azet League is a faction that is charged with keeping everything working, from the waterworks to the roads and other public services. Without them, society would descend into chaos pretty quickly. Yet, the Azet League is arguably one of the more innocent factions. They have no goals outside of exploring their own innovation, like really nice mad scientists. Really, this just solidifies Garnet's role as a complete person. She has nothing else to look forward to other than exploring herself, and is incredibly skilled otherwise. The mad scientists of the Azet League are not always known for making safe experiments, however. As we've seen with Malachite and Sugilite, Garnet may want to be careful with who she fuses with. Now Jasper is interesting because she is a white, black, red, a triple color. For Jasper, might is the only order that the world follows, and she follows it with a blind passion. Mechanically, she's all about big destruction and taking power wherever she can. She is represented by the Mardu Horde. The Horde is a combat and war-centric society who value speedy and aggressive strategies. Their code of honor is as follows: to conquer is to eat, to rule is to bleed, victory or death. Essentially being a magic equivalent to the Huns or Khans back in ye olden times. So war, conquering, and bleeding. She sounds pretty bad, right? Well, there's a plot twist to the Mardu. Their leader, Alicia, who smiles at death, actually strikes a peace with the dragons. She disbands the Mardu Horde and calls for her people and the dragons to live side by side in their travels through the world. Jasper's redemption may occur in this fashion, in which she takes an about-face as a leader of Homeworld and strikes a peace between humans and gems. Peridot is another tricolor with white, blue, and black. Peridot wants an order that is knowledgeable and efficient, and she achieves it at any cost. Mechanically, she will take what she can from others while keeping them down and improving her own chances at victory. In the lore, this combination is represented by Esper Shard. Funny thing is, the Esper Shard is less of a faction and is an actual place. In the land of Esper, the land possesses a highly prized and malleable metal, which the people try to incorporate in just about everything, even in their own bodies like magical cyborgs. Nature itself is logical and calculated down to the very last details, with the night sky being a chart filled with numbers and measurements in plain view. Esper's secret, however, is that there isn't enough of their prized metal to go around. The only way to achieve the community's goal of having enough for everyone is to control the population. This is done either by preventing births, or perhaps killing those who don't fit into the program. This may imply that Peridot may not take well to meeting or caring for too many people, causing her to suffer a breakdown by overextending herself. Also taking a general preference to logical machines over actual people in the first place. Finally, there's Sugilite, who is classic red. Hit hard, go hard, and be blinded by emotion. She is the only single-colored gem that Matt listed, and there isn't much of affection or story to the colors by themselves. Compared to everyone else, all we really need to know about Sugilite is pretty much already there.
The next video will continue from here regarding the comics of Steven Universe.